Okay, apparently we can start almost on time. So hi everybody, my name's Simon Johnson. I'm the aerospace industry expert for Vaud, which is the Canton Vaud Innovation Agency. And it's my pleasure, honor and privilege to introduce some great panelists, some of the thought leaders of our industry, to talk about how we're going to unlock the Swiss space economy. And the premise, which is what gave us the title of this panel, is the cost to put 1 kilo in orbit is going to drop to $100. So what kind of new opportunities is that going to create? Traditionally, we're talking about $50,000 per kilo to put in orbit. We're going from $50,000 to $100. So what's that going to change, and how does that create new opportunities? So that's really the theme. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give the floor to the different panelists and ask them some questions, but then I'm going to open the floor to you guys, and you can ask questions and interact with these great panelists. Okay? So first, the idea, the format is we have the three panelists. I'm going to have them explain who they are, what they do, and what they're looking for. So first, I'm going to give the mic, here you are, the mic to Emmanuel David, who is the Executive Director of EPFL Space Center. So kind of introducing the title, but what actually do you do? Is that, you want to check it's working?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yes. Hello, my name is Emmanuel David. I'm an aerospace engineer by training, mechanical engineering, and I've been working 15 years in the space industry, mainly in the launcher industry, developing rockets, but also launching them with Beyond Gravity here in Switzerland. And I joined EPFL 5 years ago as the executive director. So what do we do at EPFL Space Center? We are the interdisciplinary hub to connect education, research and innovation at EPFL, Swiss Institute of Technology in Lausanne, managing different education programs such as the minor in space technologies, from which those two wonderful entrepreneurs are coming from, and supervising different students' projects. They will maybe talk about this also. In research, push space-related research at EPFL, what is very interesting is there is not space-specific laboratories, but it's really to look and understand which technologies can have an application within the space field, and in that way also unlock new markets. And finally, innovation, working with companies also to help them to develop tech, but also support also the transfer of technologies and students, entrepreneurs. What I'm looking for here is indeed fresh ideas, market needs, to understand which technologies are in the labs that can be also useful for the people here.
Okay, thank you. So, Aziz, your turn. Same exercise.
Sure. I mean, I'm feeling at home here. I got Emmanuel, Simon. We've all seen each other sometime at the EPFL. So I come from EPFL. We are made in EPFL 100%. And co-founder and CEO of Defy Space. The goal of this company is to make access to space simpler and more affordable. So as you can see from the title, the transportation problem is nearly solved. We know how to get stuff into space somewhere for very low cost. The bottleneck now is on the satellite. We are still having one certain sensor, one payload per satellite, and the idea behind our business is to aggregate multiple customers on a single platform. So it doesn't matter how you came to this event. Some of you may have taken the car, some have taken the train, and we all agree that taking the train is easier because you're not on the driver's seat. That's exactly what we do for our customers. They are not on the driver's seat, we drive the satellite, they just share the ride with us. And so far we are in space. I mean, the company is pretty young when it comes to the age, but we reached space. We have 5 customers operating already, and we're learning so much out there. And so today, we're not looking for the money principally, but we're looking for more customers. Because guess what? We can fly sensors to space. So if you have a camera or an antenna, we can do that. But we can also fly software. And for that, you don't have to be a space engineer to get it to space. We actually run the same software you have on your laptop. So it's an exciting time right now, and we're democratizing access to space data, and that's the mission.
Okay, thank you very much. Julie, your turn.
So, hello everybody. My name is Julie. I am the CEO and co-founder of paves Space, which is a pretty young endeavor based on the Gruyère Space Program project, where we developed the first reusable rocket prototype here in Europe with a bunch of as a student. Now we are a company, and our goal is from this low Earth orbit, which is quite easy to reach right now. We want to expand space and expand the ability to go to other orbits by developing a kick stage, which is is a last mile delivery. If I take again your comparison, we are the taxi. After the plane, you will take to go to your final destination. For 6 months travel to 24 hours is what we want to do. Currently, we are a team of around 20 working on beautiful technologies such as rocket propulsion system or control algorithm. And today I'm looking forward to share this passion with you and also to know more about what you're thinking about the space domain and also, of course, investor as a specific day.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Great to see that we have a majority of female entrepreneurs, driving this industry. Just as a backup, $100 per kilo, I mean, I didn't invent that number, and it wasn't an excuse to have this panel. So if anybody's interested in the source and where we have the graph showing where we are and where we're going, I can make that available afterwards, and also some summaries, some outlooks of some analysts on this industry. So now the idea is I'm going to ask a question. This one I want you all to answer is, so take it in turn, like Emmanuel first, is what is your vision of the Swiss space economy? What do you think it's going to look like?
Thanks for this great question. So the Swiss space economy is very particular. I'm originally from France. I also was in Germany and in the US and arrived in Switzerland 7 years ago. I arrived there because I knew that Switzerland was building structures for launchers, and basically all European launchers have Swiss technologies on it. And then I learned what are the specificities of the Swiss space ecosystem. And also I learned that every satellite that are flying, European satellite, lots of them have some Swiss technologies. Could it be some atomic clocks, mechanism? So Switzerland is everywhere in space. And that's where I learned that it's really about niche technologies and with a high added value. And this is very important because this is really part of one of the future to really look at those technologies that might be difficult to understand, but really to invest in them. It can be also materials, so micro-technologies, different production means. But also what I've seen in the since I'm there is also a new trend also as Switzerland to operate missions and to be a system integrator, even a large system integrator, being you're not providing those components, but you're also building a system, such as the vision of Aziz and Julie, but that is also the vision of ClearSpace that was founded in 2018 and got awarded also a contract by the European Space Agency to remove space debris, the vision of also of Astrocast, meaning that Swiss satellites are more and more in space. And EPFL launched the first Swiss satellite in 2009. I think now we have around 15 in total in space, and I think the trend is going to increase. Switzerland is also currently had a consultation for a Swiss space law, which means that there is a legal framework also for companies and entrepreneurs also to evolve in this landscape and support also from the government, which can give also confidence. So a lot of different aspects about the Swiss specificities and evolution of the Swiss market.
Okay, so same question for Aziz,
Sure. I mean, I'll take the big picture and then maybe we can zoom into Switzerland afterwards. Yeah. The way we see space right now, and if you can describe it in very simple words, it's like satellites are out there orbiting the Earth, and if you can look at them, it's like having a bunch of laptops all operating with very little capacity. And so if we want to build this data factory and be able to operate very difficult operations in space, you can't just do that with existing infrastructure. You have to push the boundaries to create servers in space that are capable of doing way bigger things. This can go from data right now, which we actually do in space, to actually going to more crazy stuff, which is manufacturing, etc. And so what is great about Switzerland, and that we have seen when we were actually growing to the ecosystem, we do components very well, and we're super competitive about that. But there's very few companies that are doing systems, and that's what we want to change in terms of paradigm right now. We want to reach that vision of creating factories in space, and for that you need infrastructure, and we're here to fill that gap with the system that we're building. We need people to move around space, we need people that bring great systems, and our job right now is to integrate all of that and to start making lead when it comes to full systems that are ready to use. SUD25 is a great example. ClearSpace, I had my internship there, great company. Astrocast, we hired people from there, so hey, I mean, Switzerland is on fire. When it comes to that.
Great, thank you. Very positive, huh? great vibe. Okay, Julie, your turn. Try and up that.
I agree with everything what was said, but I want maybe to give another, maybe more negative point of view on that. I think it's kind of also the job and why you are here. You heard about space, I think, and maybe you're excited about that because of the first wave of launcher that we had, especially with the Falcon 9 rocket. Now we will leave a second wave of that, and it will be big. Like very big. What Starship and all the heavy launchers are going, we are expecting, as you mentioned, data centers into space, energy creation into space, and orbit will become an industry. The past CEO of Google recently purchased a launcher company to create data centers into space. It's not like just a ferry. It's really something that's happening. USA and China are heavy investing into that. I think in Europe maybe we lack a bit of boldness on that elements, but hopefully with the wave of defense that we are living right now, it will be a second wave on that. And in Europe, Switzerland is very well positioned because of everything that we did to be a key player on this second wave. And I really hope that we will do that. We have the great talent to do that, really great academic and hands-on experience with the formation that we have currently. And I come in the canton of Vaud because it's what we represent today. We hire a lot of people from HEIG who have this hands-on experience and can live their space dream. And that's really what we need to do right now in Switzerland.
Okay, so keep the mic, because the next question was really, I mean, you started kind of answering the question with, what do you think is going to happen first? Are we going to put data centers in space? We're going to put zero-G manufacturing? People talk about pharmaceutical industry, doing fiber optic, which would have zero loss. I mean, what do you think, in which order, I mean, are they going to happen in which order and how big is it? And each of you maybe has an opinion on that. I'm trying to say, traditionally we did Earth observation and telecommunication and broadcast from space. I'm really interested, what are the new industries we're going to move from Earth to space?
So you are talking about industry, which yeah. I do like. If we see space as an industry place where we can build value, the value will be certainly consumed on Earth because the customers are on Earth. We are not selling to aliens for the moment. And so this Earth person needs to have goods back. So what's easy to transport is intangible goods. That's what we do with telecommunication. Basically, you are creating a value up there and then putting it back to Earth. It's something that we can do with energy. If we are using a data centers, we are going back data, and it's exactly what you mentioned, and it's really like the most easy thing to do. And after we will enter the second wave of re-entering tangible goods, but I guess it will be more in the future because it's way more difficult to
So you're saying crypto mining, AI, large language model would be actually manufactured in space and then shipped back down onto Earth? I
don't like to make it about AI because it's quite a hot topic right now. But I think that in the next year, it's 10% of the global energy consumption in the US that will be used for AI. So if we can externalize that to space without having any impact on Earth, it will be just amazing to do such projects. Okay. And companies are working on that currently.
Okay, Aziz, you want to add to that?
Yeah, quick word, scale matters so much for that. So we are doing all of the applications you just mentioned, but on a prototype level. And what we want to push as much as possible is to get the unit economics as low as possible so the consumer on Earth that you actually mentioned can buy them, can afford to access space value. And so we need to scale the capabilities. Today we scale it on software and data. Tomorrow it's going to be on re-entry vehicles and other stuff.
Okay, Manuel?
So to answer your question about which market first, I think everything is going in parallel. So everyone is testing. There was the first mission who was returning also the first element, medicine produced in space, so also looking at this. I think what is important also to understand is that, as you mentioned, space, so for me, it's not one industry. We're building their infrastructure. And I like to talk about space-based infrastructure. And actually, the end customer doesn't know where the thing is produced. Is it in space? Is it in their country? Is it somewhere else? They will not know where the data was stored. Well, no, we do take into consideration where it's stored, but for them, they don't need to know if it's there or in space, and this goes also for energy. So I really think it's also from those different industries that see the potential, that make also the assessment, what are the risks also that I have into producing on Earth or in space, can I invest also, and what is the value also that I will gain within my value chain in order also to unlock my own market. So I think this is also very important to look on that perspective. And that's why it's very great also to be here with non-space people, but maybe from those sectors, that they also talk with us to see what are the potentialities, what are the technical hurdles, is it easy? And I think we would say it's easier than what you think.
Okay, all right. No, keep them mind. So I've got the questions for Julie and then Aziz. The next one is, what is our unique selling proposition? What do you think we have which makes us competitive compared to France, Europe, Asia, North America, whatever, you know? What?
I like to think that we have this ability to work smartly and with a big understanding of all the vertical. When you are talking with engineers in our country, they do know how to do the math, but they also do know how to practice it. And this full understanding of the full value chain from mathematics to actual hardware is key for us to automatize and to make our work more efficient. And we need to do that because in terms of salary, we are not competitive in Europe. And we have this real ability to better understanding our value chain, and I really think it's really key in Switzerland, and it's what we can offer.
Okay, same for Aziz then.
Yeah, great talent, as you mentioned. So this is one thing actually that we noticed when we were traveling in San Francisco, pitching to the US investors. All of them always mentioned in Switzerland, you have a very good understanding of technology. And that is going through the whole team. It's not just the founders, it's everybody that we have in the team is like a chief engineer. They understand very well what they're doing. So this is a very good, important thing that you have when it comes to talent. But guess what? Our salaries are so high, so we need also to be super lean when it comes to that talent. And so I think one of the great things that the environment taught us in here, and that was pretty useful when going to the US, is that we actually deliver with very low amount of money. And so I think there's only very few startups that were in space in pre-seed. We haven't closed the round when we reached space with 5 customers. So that's actually thanks to the Swiss environment. Obviously, growing up from there, we will start to be a bit negative because we will need more capital. But it's an equation. You have to fine-tune it as you go through the different stages.
But isn't that a risk? Maybe we're good at bootstrapping. I mean, Julie, it's amazing what you did as a student project. But then maybe we're not very good at Switzerland going to the next level where you need to be a bit more bullish and ambitious, American style.
You're not there yet, but from what I've seen also, I understand that there is an issue also for companies when they want to scale up. So I've seen several companies that were able to raise funds, but then when it comes to scale up, it's complicated. Still, space is a very government does have a heavy weight, and when you want to access institutional market in Europe within the European Space Agency or the EU, you need to have support from your government, which is maybe something that can be complicated within a liberal country such as Switzerland. So that might be a challenge where I think the government also can support also more companies when they need to make this threshold. And we've seen also that a lot of companies, when they are first starting in Switzerland, they open other offices in other European countries and also in the US, also to access this market. I think there is still the potential to keep, I would say, the base in Switzerland, keep the IP, because this IP has a great value, and keep also let's say, the headquarters there, but still have those satellites in other countries.
Okay. You want to add? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a point that summarizes what you say is that we are a rare country not having like the CNES, a National Space Agency. And this really taught us the value of money because we need to be very business-oriented from the beginning. And it's something maybe you can avoid in other countries because we have these grants from the state. And Switzerland exports really well the business because you have this global understanding of the market and the commercial aspect of that. And if you want to go to space, you want to be very grounded on Earth, and doesn't matter if you have a foot in Switzerland and a foot otherwise. So maybe your Earth in Switzerland and your feet otherwise. So
you're saying it's an advantage we don't have a national space agency, in your case?
This is complex for me to say yes or no, because of course sometimes it will help to have a bit more funds.
Okay, so then just to move on, the next question, I'm changing a little bit the order here, is, and I think it's an important one, is, and you kind of hinted to this, that you're working with the engineering schools, but the question we kind of discussed this when we prepared the panel is, what kind of new jobs are you creating, which aren't traditional space positions, and therefore, where those people, what are they going to be doing? Like you said, you don't need a space engineer, and it's obviously back down to also education, and what kind of people should we be training and hiring to build this space infrastructure, to build these new industries in space? Can you give us a kind of an insight of what kind of people you think you'll be hiring, and where are the job opportunities in Switzerland?
Sure. I mean, I just mentioned it before. We're building the equivalent of servers in space. And so right now, we just had our first hire that was not a space engineer, that had nothing to do with space. It was a pure software developer. And the idea behind that is to just port everything that is being done here on Earth from a software perspective, but also even from a mechanical engineering perspective, to space, and to challenge all the old space, let's say, standards which were super expensive, not scalable, etc. And so the new trend that we are pushing right now, and we have seen it also with our first customer that has nothing to do with space, is that we're pushing more and more towards the democratization of access to software capabilities in orbit, and that's because we're using the same tools as all of you are using today. If one of you has a laptop and knows how to code, you can literally be our customers today. Because we have infrastructure in space, we are pushing more and more software applications. And so today we are seeing people distancing themselves from the hardware, forgetting a bit about the complexity, and focusing more on the end application. And our job right now is to do this abstraction layer and to let them just develop as a non-space engineer, just assume that the data is there for you, and we'll take care of the transportation of it.
Okay, great. So it's going to be a bit like DeFi Space App Store.
We have the App Store.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you can pay per use, per kilobyte. It's like a Salt or, Swisscom thing, where it's a subscription model, and you can readily run your application. And if you are data hungry, you'll pay a lot. And that's it.
Okay, Julie?
In terms of hiring, and for the team we have right now, I think they are providing the passion, and we are providing the space aspect of that. And it's really what I can feel on the team that we have. You have to have space engineers, of course, but you can just also have very passionate people who are here to push the extra miles, and it's really what we are looking for at the moment, especially polymechanicians, automaticians, or people who have really this hands-on experience are so valuable. We are working on a big beast. It's 4 meter diameter, 10 meter high. Come on, you need to have people who know to handle it.
Okay. And Emmanuel, what are you seeing at the university?
Yeah, I would say it's a very interesting topic, and of course, from a university perspective, you want to know what is that the market needs also. One thing is what we are also looking, and what we are doing is also we also want to train job creators and not just people job seekers, and we have two great examples. 5 years ago, you would have told me they would have created those companies. I wouldn't have known. But because for sure, and I would not have expected. So this is also very, it's a challenge for us because we need to be open to the unknown. But I think what is important is also this is the vision. So we have at EPFL is we train also engineers that are the best in their specialty, robotics, micro manufacturing, computer science, and then they can apply it also to space. And this is also very important to keep it. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to work in the space field. That's important. And actually, the profiles you're looking for are not those type of profiles. You're looking for an expert in their domain that they can apply to space. And this we see also that, so we have a minor in space technologies with around 70 students, but in the space association, so the rocket team, the spacecraft team, the rover team, but other association, we have around 400 or 500 students working on space projects. And all those students, they do have the passion, they find the application, the field of application amazing, and they bring the best of their knowledge in it. And for example, a few weeks ago, there was the reveal of the rover, and they manage now with their phone to give the commands to the phone, and it's gonna drive their rover, and this is impressive what they are doing. So we are getting surprised all the time.
Okay, great. So I've got one last question. I'm actually going to combine them so you can decide how you want to answer it, and then I'm going to hand the mic to the floor. So it's around, I think, 3 topics. Is sustainability? Are we concerned about sustainability in space? And/or do we have the right kind of legal framework? Because we're going to see more and more private actors. You kind of alluded to that, so we're working on that. So I kind of see, are we doing the right things? Should we be doing more? And then the third one is around cybersecurity. We heard this morning a keynote is that something that you are concerned about addressing? The threat that your infrastructure, because it's no man's land, it could be attacked just about by anybody, especially by cyber warfare. So you can decide which part of that long question you want to answer.
Yeah, so I'll start. I have the mic. Sustainability, of course, this is key. Sustainability, it's not only about green or green propellant, it's also being safe, it's being secure. So this goes also with your question about cybersecurity. It's also being resilient, about resilience, and this is why also we see that currently in Europe, but also worldwide, you have strong investment on the defense side. To be resilient, you need to be secure, so you need to have infrastructure that are cyber safe, because you have a lot of cyber threats. It's not only jamming, it's also dazzling, so the fact also to... there are a lot of technologies that can also have, hinder your infrastructure, and I think on that aspect, space-based infrastructure are not secure. That's what from the experts they tell me, so this is very important. We do have a legal framework in Switzerland. This is currently under consultation. So it's going. There is also a project at the EU level, so there are some. But it's true that on that aspect, we face a lot of technology outpacing. Technology is going always faster than the legal framework. We see it also in other domains. This is why also the legal framework needs to be also pretty general so that you can apply it specifically. And I do want to mention that actually we saw that the current project of the Swiss space law doesn't have any specificities on cybersecurity, but it should have. So it's something also I want to study more also with the legal framework here in Switzerland.
Okay, thank you. Aziz?
Yeah, sustainability is super important. That was a wake-up call when I was in ClearSpace doing my internship there. So we look at it from the other perspective. Today, there is a lot of low-cost satellites that are being sent to space, and these satellites end up being bricks in space that serve nothing, except SwissCube, which is very good. But to be serious about that, what we want to do right now is to consolidate the industry into larger platforms that are capable of being sustainable. Whenever the lifetime is over, we have to re-enter towards Earth, and that's it, eliminate debris. But the other point, which is super important, the cybersecurity side, the hire that I mentioned before that was not from space, he was from SciSec before. And so that was a person that was actually doing hands-on security on servers, and these are the people that have seen the real threats. And that was basically because one of our customers that is operating right now in space said, hey guys, is my data secure? It is not. And we're downloading text files not encrypted at all. This is okay if you're doing a prototype and an MVP. It's not okay as soon as you have serious commercial customers. And so we care a lot about that, and we're now implementing the right measures.
Just SciSec is also a Vaud startup, and they organized a conference in Paris, which is happening today, called SciSat, the cybersecurity satellite. Great event of those who've not been. It's amazing, and you can see the industry is very concerned. But it's also interesting to see how Switzerland's actually the organizer of this major conference about cybersecurity and satellite.
So we are in SciSec right now. We have a computer there, and we're sponsoring a hackathon for all the cybersecurity people that could hack into our computer and test whether or not it's
because there's two aspects. There's hacking into the data, but also hacking into the control system of the satellite, right?
Exactly.
Okay, hijacking the satellite, right?
Well, let's see if they manage to break our computer.
Okay, Julie, your turn. Are you concerned about legal framework? You kind of okay?
I'm happy with what's happening.
Okay. You think there's enough consultation with industry and that,
We've been involved. Yeah.
Okay, great.
For this question and around sustainability, I will talk a bit more about the vision of PAVE. So the name PAVE is here to pave the way to space, so really to build this industry that I was talking about early on. I really think that in terms of sustainability, you can think about how space as we do today is sustainable, and I think it's important to do that, but also how space can be a tool for the future years for Earth to be more sustainable. And there is this vision which I really like, to think Earth as a garden, and to imagine that we can have our industry also around us and open the door and use what's outside. And it's really a vision that I want to emphasize, that we are not thinking enough about, is seeing space as really as a tool for sustainability, and just for opening the door. Earth is too small. We are just going in the neighborhood, and I think it's a great way to see space.
And cybersecurity, your concern for you? Yeah.
It's really depend on the project. For the moment, we are not at this stage. We have a server on the ground, very well secured, but not yet in space.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So now the idea is that if you have any questions, raise your hand. We'll give you the mic. On this topic. Oh, okay. Here you are. Yeah, just go up.
I dropped my phone. Yeah, make sure cybersecurity you plan ahead, because I think that's going to be interesting. You didn't talk too much about the geopolitics of space, right? And we heard this morning in the keynote that obviously military, space, and others are key to the future. How do you each see a bit things developing for Switzerland, knowing that it's a bit hard to be in the same, I would say, kind of realm as the larger organizations and countries?
You want everybody to answer? Or is that
No. Whoever fits.
Okay. You got a question afterwards?
So on the defense side, we are a strategy on it, because we are working on mobility in space, so basically moving around. And if you are looking, again, space as an industry, you need to operate it as any field on Earth. So if you're talking, for example, the plane, you have this civilian way of moving around, but you still have your defense plane just in case something it's going badly. And we are this thing for mobility, and we also want to propose that. So having the casual operation, but still something to just check how it's happening. And I really think that Switzerland, it's not in the plan right now, but can have this key rule in Europe, because of its neutrality, to say, I will be the observer. I will know what's happening, and I can just share the information among Europe. And based on this new wave of Europe taking the control again, Swiss can really be a key player in that, and I hope it will happen.
Does anybody else? Oh, okay.
Yeah, thanks. It's a very good question. And so from your question, so I understand, so how Switzerland can play, and also you ask about which alliance they should choose. So I think this is the second part of the question is a more global question for Switzerland and how they want to place themselves. From the space industry, I would say that in the last, I would say, few decades, people had some hope that you could have a civil space and a military space. But however, all technologies that are space technologies have a dual use, and they are highly restricted. And we know that in the US, technology is directly on this ITAR list, so you have some restrictions. Also, when you develop a space technology in Switzerland and you want to export it, you need to do some specific declarations. So I think on that, we're pretty well aware. Then there is also a card to play for Switzerland, indeed, because of the neutrality card, which is also evolving, but this is, I would say, a higher debate here in Switzerland, what it means to be neutral. But there is, but that was also a key argument for some companies, such as ClearSpace, but also SpaceTalk, that play this card. ClearSpace wants to remove debris. So if you have the capacity to remove some debris, you also have the capacity to go and annoy another objects. And this is a space weapon, let's say. And in that fact, you would trust better to give to ask the service to a Swiss company, because you know they will be fair and they will just do the service. This is also the pitch also from SpaceTalk. SpaceTalk is also offering a catalog for space data for all different actors, because today there is not, and it's very complicated. The US proposed some solutions, but of course Chinese will never put data on US servers and vice versa. So it's possible to offer such a solution using Swiss servers. So this with the neutrality. And then also there are some thoughts, also some questions on how Switzerland could use also the tradition of good offices also to support some of the geopolitics that is also happening in space. So there is also something, a card to play there. But also to conclude, I would say Switzerland is also not naive. They know they need also to build their capacity for the Swiss Armed Force using space-based infrastructure. And there is some large investment. There will be, I would say, the Swiss Space Force that will be, and they have also some great capacities, great technologies that are also at the same level of large players. And there will be also some spillover for the Swiss industry. So this is also something happening.
Okay, thank you. I'll give you the microphone. Hope that. Next question.
Aziz, you mentioned that Switzerland is a great place to do less with more, do more with less, if I may say, which is counterintuitive for me since we have high wages. So why do you think it's the case?
Well, it's just the nature of the environment here. We didn't choose to do that. The wages are high, and so if you compare us to all the rest of the European startups raising similar rounds, we tend to burn more cash than they do. And so we cannot hire the same amount of people. We are a team of 9 right now. We cannot go bigger until mid next year. The rounds themselves cannot also grow bigger, and we see that with the difference between where we pitch in the US. We see that people are comfortable with us wanting 10 million or more for such a small early stage. In Europe, people say no right away, right? And so the fact that we were super constrained on cash made us super aggressive when it comes to sales. So we did do some good numbers, even though we were not flight proven whatsoever. We managed to get these things ongoing. We have customers that kept us alive before closing a round. And I think that's a good signal for the rest of the industry, where they have to think commercial first. I mean, government and all the rest, it's going to come, but it takes time. But it gives you the right spirit to just generate as much cash as possible, work with the limited resources, and then be super competitive when it comes to the rest. And that comes also with a lot of, let's say, advantages on the engineering side as well, because having a small team at the beginning is key to maintain knowledge in one place and to not have everybody thinking in one different direction. And we love that for now.
Julie, do you want to add anything on that, or no? No, okay. Just as a question is, what percentage of your costs are related to people, salaries?
It's huge for now. I mean,
but in, let's say, 3 years, 5 years, is it going to still be really important?
No, because from the moment we start rolling in larger hardware, I mean, our hardware right now is double this bottle. It's super small. But as soon as we get to 2027, half of our cost is going to be just pure hardware and R&D. And this is where I say it's great to start in Switzerland, but we have to have an idea about how to grow outside of Switzerland while maintaining our technology here, because this is where everything started. And so, yeah, right now we're planning ahead. And I think this is already good, what we have in here, Venture Kick and all these grants that you can get. Working with the PFL as well, the labs can benefit a lot from that. But think a bit about the next stage. And seed round onwards, it's going to be tough, and we're getting ready.
Okay. Oh, okay, great. Got some. So let's keep. Who was first? Okay, sorry. So keep the answers short, and we're going to get the 3 questions there.
You talk about bringing up calculus capabilities into space, but how much can we increase it before it building up become a problem?
It's a problem.
It's building up. Like in us, you have air to cool down.
Oh yeah, it's a big problem. I mean, the problem right now we have, even with the small GPUs that we carry, is that we cannot dissipate the heat easily. And so we're trying to be creative. That's the thing. We tell you that we are carrying great capabilities in terms of computing, and we make it look super simple. But in the back, our mechanical engineers are sweating because we need to get rid of all of that heat.
But I thought it's very cold in space, so what's the problem?
I mean, it's cold, but you cannot conduct the heat easily. So, yeah, air is good. Having fans on a satellite is impossible, unfortunately. So we have to get creative around that and keep our costs down. But hey, since transportation is cheap right now, we can carry more metal, and that we use as a conductive material to just get rid of all that heat.
And radiation, is that a problem?
It is a problem, and for that we have to shield as well. But again, cost is low, so we can also solve that with redundancy.
Okay, that's cool. So let's quick. Which one? The one in the back? Oh, you do it.
I quickly have a follow-up question on the question before. So you said you want to go outside of Switzerland. So what place would you go instead of Switzerland? Like, where's the other second place to be?
I'm in Berlin, so.
So Berlin, you
gives
say.
you a hint.
Okay, they pass the mic, because if we speak up, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, hello. So I'm going to be quick, but my question is about regulation. So as Julie, you said, now is the sort of second wave rushing to space. And my understanding as a sort of Lambda person is that we're rushing there to space, but not really regulating anything. Pretty much everybody is launching things, and we don't really know what's happening. There's a lot of debris, lots of things up there. If you want to send a spy satellite or whatnot, you can do it. Nobody knows about it. So my question is, in terms of regulation, what's currently happening to sort of put a framework on all this space rush right now?
Emmanuel, you want to? You want the mic or? Okay. Yeah, take the mic. And who's going to be next? Who's going to just?
Thanks. Yeah, so in terms of regulation, I mentioned technology outpacing, so this is very hard. I would say on the global level, you have the UN, and there is the Office of Outer Space Affairs. In the 70s, the global community managed also to sign some treaties that make a regulation worldwide. Of course, those treaties are pretty general. I think they are still actual, but could be, of course, updated. But the problem is between the number of actors you had when they were signing the treaties in the 70s with the number of actors you have now at the UN, where they should discuss another version, the number of countries have really increased. You have more than 100 countries in the Committee of Outer Space Affairs. They managed to come out in 2019 with the long-term sustainability guidelines. So those are guidelines. They are decided on a consensus basis. And then it's up to each country to implement it in their national framework, legal framework. And it took 10 years to come to this. So it's very complicated. So this is why also you see the emergence of different industry initiatives. For example, there is the Space Data Associations that also want to build up standards. And standards is also another way to, I would say, not to have regulations, but standards where everyone agrees more or less on what's going to happen. So that's one part. The other part, you're right, there is a second wave. We are rushing to space. And some actors talk like it's like the gold rush. But you can understand that the top, like, to say gold rush is a very US-centric approach or Western approach. And the question is it fair to have such an approach in this global area? So we see that there is a shift also currently worldwide on how we do things. So that will also mostly impact this. And every actors also need to sit at the table and want to share the pie. And I don't think it's the current trend currently.
Okay, thank you. Another question? Last question? Okay. No? Yeah.
As I'm not space expert, could you explain me where are really the advantages of the space economy? You know, why you want to build systems in space and not on the Earth? Thank you.
Great question.
So it all started with the GEO satellites, so these TV satellites. Basically, it's an antenna that you are putting very far because it has a great coverage. And it's really the first idea of telecommunication is just to put your antenna to have a biggest, but I assume you know that. Then for this other ways of that, I will maybe explain you for your business model especially, but it could also be a way to use what's out there. In the vision I was talking about, using Earth as a garden and then going and seek resources, you can do, on the moon, you have all the resources to build solar panel, for example. So it will be amazing in a very big future to use our neighborhood. So it's the same question when your fridge is open, where do you go? You go outside to the store. So it's the same way we can use space for the moment. Earth observation, if you are coming right now, it's also a topic. You are going just outside to take a global picture. Such applications are happening right now.
But being specific, I mean, the fact that you can see the whole Earth, no geostationary satellites, it's obviously one, but isn't zero G, isn't that got some interest? We don't have zero G on Earth. And so that's one reason going to space. But also like solar energy, the fact that you don't have clouds, you've got, I mean, surely there are some clear advantages of doing something in space, right? It's not just a question, we don't have the physical space on Earth, so we're going to put it into space. It's because there are some advantages, right? I mean,
And this is especially great for the data centers we were talking on earlier on. As you're saying, you have no clouds, no day-night cycle, so 24 hours full sun on your solar panels, and you can work there without having an industry on Earth.
Depends where the satellite is, right? Okay. Yeah, you okay?
And what we've seen is also there's a decrease also of the cost to develop those infrastructures in space. So it means there was some studies also looking in Switzerland if you want to replace the emergency communication system with antenna versus with a space-based system. Today it can be cheaper. But I would say with the but, we need to consider the sustainability impact, environmental impact, and this is not yet proven.
Because the other one I have on my list is mining, which we haven't mentioned. Do we believe we're going to be mining now objects in space? Does it make sense rather than doing it on Earth? Because I think that's kind of one of the...
So there's going to be mining. People are looking and they're going to drill on the moon, and they will take space resources. So to use it, maybe to produce energy. So that's what they claim. Then it's also one of the critiques that I've read or I hear also on this thematic is that you go to get some resources to build also a new economy on the moon or a new system. To whom it's going to be also valuable, this is a question, it's going to be to a certain fringe of the population, so this is also something. And then I want maybe to take this into consideration, like we talked about sustainability, let's also avoid to redo the mistakes we did on Earth. In space, because we don't have resources on Earth, we go to get them in space. Maybe also we need to think also to be more circular, also to be more careful about the resources we use in that matter, and not just take space as a new play field and reproduce the same mistakes.
Okay, great. So if there's no more questions, and then we're going to wrap up. So the deal is each of you has to say what is your call to action. So,
So as I said earlier, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to be in space. So this is very important, and my call to action is to anyone from other industries that is interested about what are the possibilities with the space sector to come to us to ask questions, and then we can see how we can help you on that.
Thank you.
Doubling down on your point, speak to us if you want to have software running in space. That's so cool.
And Julie?
We are looking for a bunker in Switzerland to test our engine. I assume you might have some relative who have a bunker or a plane test where we can test our engine. So that might be my call.
Okay, yeah, but give us some. How big does a bunker need to be?
So our engine is doing the same noise as a military plane. With a sound suppression system. So we don't want to bother all Switzerland with what we are developing. So basically a bunker, the flame is doing like 10 meters and we'll need some space also behind to store the tanks. So very specific request, but if you can find it, it will be very amazing.
But since it's cheap to put it in space, why don't you test it in space? And you know, no noise, right? No?
Yeah,
okay.
not cheap enough.
All right, well, thank you very much. Thank you to the panelists. And we hope you learned something, right? I mean, that was useful. Great. Have a great day.